Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Nina. This is my home in London, and I'd love to show you around. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Nina Litchfield. I'm an interior designer, and this is my home in London. Welcome. When we first bought this house, it was looking very different, and my husband and I decided that we only had a very small budget to give it a sort of tiny facelift in terms of colors and taking away the old wallpapers, taking away old carpets, and we lived in the house for about 4 years until we decided exactly what we wanted to do, got permission in order to do the extension and the exterior work that we needed to do. As you can imagine, London is very protected in order to keep it such a beautiful city as it is, and so there are a lot of guidelines. And after 4 years, including 2 years of planning, we moved out for about 2 years in total. I even had a pregnancy in between, so a lot of excitement in those 2 years. And then we moved back in after extensive work had been done. And essentially everything changed, and the only thing that stayed as it was is the staircase. All right, let's get started, and I would love to introduce you to my living room. This is my formal living room. It's a very important space in the house, and I would say the most important piece of furniture in this room is this sofa, which was designed by me and made by a very famous English company called George Smith, who make the best sofas. And it's a bespoke piece that essentially made the room work, because this room is a connector between my staircase, my library, and going down to the kitchen and the family area. And I wanted to focus on the fireplace, which is a new fireplace, which has a wood burner, which I love. When it starts getting a little bit colder and grayer, let's say, in London, you put that on and it really immediately changes the mood. And I love being able to have a real fire. And it is also like very efficient. It heats up the whole room. It's incredible. I love it. So this is a space where I gather my friends in the evenings. We have drinks here before we go down for dinner. This is a space that in the winter we sit, we read by the fire. As you can tell, this is a leopard print, so it's quite colorful. I'm playing with greens. What I felt was really important is that for me, this room needed to feel relatively neutral. So the walls are white, but the theme of green goes throughout this floor. And I have very important works of art, which are my pops of color. This is a friend of mine. She's called Anna Skladman, and she is incredible. I love her work. It's basically a scan, like she puts flowers on a scanner and it gives this effect of a photograph. And these are exotic flowers that you have in Brazil. So this picture really represents my and my husband's background, and therefore we love it, and it's colorful and warm. And we have family members here. We have chairs that we got as a wedding present, which we love, which bring in a bit of old, traditional. I think antiques are extremely important in any home. And this is a Swedish coffee table with burl on it. I love having coffee table books and magazines and ashtrays. Even if people don't smoke, I actually love ashtrays. So this is a very beautiful Murano ashtray. This is an ashtray by a German company that are friends of ours in Germany. And then if we move on, I also like having little cocktail tables everywhere. This is a little Swedish sofa. And a little bit hidden, but I'd like to show you because I think it's important, is this coffee table that I've made out of books. Essentially, I have too many books and I didn't know what to do with them, and I just thought, let's use them, let's put a light on them and make them part of the design in an eclectic way and in a practical way. So I love that I was able to create a table out of books. So you see, not always you need to spend a lot of money to get good things. These are old chairs, they are children's chairs. I have an obsession with chairs, so and seating in general, because I feel like, again, this is like a quirky part, a quirky side. It's something I bought when I was a student living in London and I didn't have much space, and they're actually very comfortable, and I like being close to the ground. And people think, oh, I don't want to sit there, but actually they're the best chairs in the house. I love them. As you can tell, I have brought together a lot of different elements in this home, especially in this room. So I would consider this sofa very modern. These are traditional old chairs, but slightly contemporary. And these are completely traditional chairs. And this is a sort of mid-century table. And I think when you first, if I was to suggest this to you in your home, you would say, oh my God, this is not going to work. How am I going to make this work? There's so many different elements, so many different timelines coming together. How do you do this? And I think essentially it's about just trying it out. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm giving away my secret. And I think it's just about making sure that it feels right to the eye. And essentially you need to hire me in order to make it work. If you want to clash all those things together, I think that is one of the things I'm good at. It's about making different elements work that maybe normally you wouldn't have put together. But it's an instinct, really. Unfortunately, as much as I would like to give you a better answer that would help you recreate it in yourself, in your home, you can, and just go with your gut instinct. Try it out, move things around, and stick to what feels right to you. I like how these two rooms seamlessly flow into one another, and that's the idea of this house, is that I was able to create spaces that you can change, and they are interlinked but also work in themselves, being cut off. So I've created this doorway here with sliding doors. I'm going to pull it out for you to see. So this is a walnut sliding door, quite traditional, very traditional in its design. Nonetheless, I feel like it doesn't feel heavy and old. I think it still feels young. But I think those are the things that are important to me within the design. You need to have traditional aspects, personally. When we were looking into modernizing, changing the home, making it suit our family life, not just from a sort of visual aspect and making it look beautiful and represent us, we were giving this extraordinary opportunity to also make it practical and make it work in everyday life as a family with 3 children. And it was very important to me that we kept a lot of the original features that we felt made this house what it is. And it is a Victorian terraced house. Terraced houses are the houses that are sort of glued on to the next house in England. Those are the sort of townhouses equivalent, I guess, in America you'd call. And they, for example, this room that I'm sitting in, it's the library, what we call the library. It used to be the dining room. And one of the features that I'm actually looking at are the windows looking onto the street. They are arched windows, and they were something that I always loved about this house. And they have original shutters that we kept and that we felt were really important to keeping, the character of the home. And whilst decorating the house, it was really important to consider the fact that we are in London. We need to consider the weather. We need to consider how this house will feel in the summer, in autumn, in winter, and in spring. And especially because in London you have a lot of gray. I don't know if you're aware of that, but the weather can be slightly depressing, somewhat sad. So I feel like London homes, they need to be uplifting and they need to help you feel good. So moving on from the living room, this is my husband's office, but it's also a library. It's also a cozy space to gather people in. When I'm having a dinner, when I'm having drinks, cocktails, it's a really wonderful space. In the winter, we put on the fire. And it feels very warm and cozy. I've also had smaller dinners at this table, which I really love because it's so versatile. I can do work from here, I can do homework with my son, and I can have small cozy dinners with friends as well as just drinks. And I'd love to show you, those are my new chairs that we are producing and selling, and they're going to be online very soon, and we're very happy and proud of them. And then here we have a sofa that's been recently reupholstered. It is also part of the design of things that we will be selling within the Nina Litchfield Studios collection. And I think every house needs to have books. You can't have a home without shelving, without books. If you look at this space, what makes this space are the shelves. I love that we were able to create the shelving all around the doors. I've also designed this ladder in order for you to move it around and you can get to everything. So it doesn't just look pretty and create space for you to keep your books, to keep your memorabilia, to have photos of the family. It also is something you can actually get to, which I find is really important. So you can move it around, the ladder can go over there. And yes, I love that it's the same fireplace as next door, but at the same time it's different. So this one is a gas fireplace made to look like a real fireplace, but it's not. And we also had the interior painted in black so that it looks aged, but it's not an old fireplace. And art, once again, is really important. This is something I bought for myself before I got married, and it's in Warsaw, and he's a magnum photographer, and I love the way that it calls you in. And I think, art brings another dimension to a home and represents people again in a different way. And I love it. It's quite urban, but then you have the trees, and if you look closer at it, you can always discover something new. And funny enough, it feels like it's in the middle of nowhere in Poland, but at the same time, it looks like they all have satellite TV. So very important. And I love things like that. Here in this corner, you have a table from the Lacquer Company together with Rita Koenig, who is a fantastic designer, also works a lot in the US, and I love her work. And they collaborated and made these beautiful tables with the lacquer trays in them. And so that's our bar. And also, it's important to have different lighting throughout the house. So when I want to create just a cozy mood, I only turn on this light, and then you can have a conversation one-on-one and spend a wonderful evening in this room. I've told you before about my living room and how I have green running throughout this floor in my house, which is my formal entertaining floor. And you have green curtains, the green sofa over there. And here we decided to go for this incredible grass cloth that we love. It's a sort of what I call moss green, and it changes with the light falling on it. And I think it's wonderful because it's kind of like toned down. It's not too much in your face. Grass cloth always creates, again, a warmth and a coziness to any room, which I can only recommend. I mean, if I needed to choose one wallpaper that I wanted to use for the rest of my life, it would be grass cloth in any color that I'm allowed to use it. And what I love about this one specifically is that it's not shiny. It's a very matte glass cloth. So I would say watch out when you're buying wallpaper, when you're buying grass cloth, make sure that it's matte. That's my advice to you. The other thing that I would like to point out about this room is this beautiful green that we have used on the bookshelf. We absolutely love it. It's a what I would call traditional racing green, like quite deep, but also a very happy green. So originally, as we designed this room, we wanted this to be walnut, but essentially we couldn't afford it. So like in any project, you have moments where you have to take decisions and cut things out. At the beginning, I was quite upset about it and sad about it. And now in hindsight, I realize actually it's probably better in green than it ever would have been in wood. And I love it because it brightens up the room. It makes it feel young and fresh, although it's a traditional design within the bookshelf design. So what I'm trying to say is don't always look at it in a negative point of view. Sometimes coming up with solutions for things and changes that need to be made throughout the process, it can be better than what you've ever expected and better than the original idea. I have to admit that in general, I find it very hard to pinpoint my style when people ask me, what is it that you like? I personally like homes that feel like a home. We are not talking about a hotel or a museum or an exhibition space. This is a home, so it needs to feel lived in. It needs to feel like characterful. It needs to feel that it represents the family that is in the house. In general, I do like color. That is not to say that you can't have a very subtle, beautiful home with different nuances of beiges and whites and textures. In my home, we decided that we wanted color to represent warmth. We wanted color to represent our different backgrounds. I am half Brazilian, half German. My husband is half Brazilian, half English. So this house is very eclectic in my point of view. I wanted this house to feel modern. To me, I guess to some people it won't. It depends on your definition on what is modern. At the same time, I do feel my designs will always have a very traditional bone to them, a very traditional undercurrent, something that feels like it's not about a trend. It needs to be something that you know you want to live with for a long time and that you are going to enjoy for a long time, because as we know, to do this sort of work, it is costly and also very time consuming. So once you've made decisions like this, you want to live with them for at least the next 5 to 10 years, really. Moving on from the library, I'd love to show you my little secret, as you call in the US, powder room. Here in England, we say loo. It was something I had to learn. As you can tell, this is a door, a secret door, and this is the little powder room, which I love, which has this American wallpaper with pineapples and different layers to it, and a little bit of a glossy layer on top. I have some art that is really important to me in here. I think loos are always a good talking point. So I love a little surprise in the guest loo, which is what I try to achieve in here. Let me bring you downstairs now. I would love to show you my kitchen. So as you have noticed upstairs, dividing the living room and the kitchen area, you have these glass and steel doors, which we call curated doors. And I love them because I believe they bring in a sort of contemporary, modern aspect to the house, which in my point of view otherwise is relatively traditional. So I love the juxtaposition of a more traditional room with some contemporary architectural features. And so I've continued that throughout the house, and I'm going to show you. I continued the theme with the steel and glass doors throughout. Here I wanted to create a division that felt light and that would let the light in throughout the different aspects, because we're now in the lower ground. And so it's less bright as it would be upstairs, as you can imagine. So here you have a curated division between the kitchen and the laundry room. And then you have the same thing here going into my children's playroom and TV room. And so they can close this door. They can watch TV whilst we are cooking, and they feel like we are not making too much noise, and their noise is also not affecting us. So it's a great way to divide rooms, create a little bit of a modern vibe, and lets in the light, lets you overlook what your children are doing depending on their age. You want to be able to keep an eye on them, quite literally. So we feel like this works really well here. And the other thing that I did was, because this is the lower ground, it's a relatively big room, I wanted it to feel warm again, because kitchens are spaces that are quite clean, quite hygienic, and can feel relatively cold at times. I wanted this kitchen to be light blue and have this very warm and colorful wallpaper. So I chose this wallpaper because I wanted people to feel like they're going to a special space that is part of the house, and it's not an afterthought. So this wallpaper also brings in the garden into this room, because we have the connection to the garden. And I wanted it to be blue because it felt like it was warmer, and I didn't want it to feel like a kitchen, actually. I wanted it to feel like it could have been any room in the house. And essentially, this is the room that we spend the most time in as a family. This is the room that I have my friends over, that we cook. We eat every meal in here, we hang out, make a cup of coffee, and I wanted it to feel just as special as anywhere else, although you are going to the lower ground, which traditionally wouldn't have been the most important floor in a home. So this wallpaper is actually by an American company called Trustworthy. And it's a famous designer called Voisey who designed this wallpaper, and I love it because there's something childlike about it, and with sort of like out of proportion animals and insects and flowers. And so even on a gray, rainy day in London, this feels warm, cozy, homely. And like I told you earlier, my kitchen is extremely practical. It's a very good kitchen to cook in because I love cooking. So I know what one needs when you're cooking. And so I'm very happy with the outcome. We love our kitchen and we spend a lot of time here. Here I created an area for you to have breakfast or lunch or dinner, but it's a sort of smaller, cozier environment, and I purposefully changed the material. As you can see, this is wood. Once again, I'm using walnut, which is one of my favorite woods because it's dark, it's moody, and very warm. And I love that about walnut. And the rest of the kitchen, it is all done with Carrara marble. So throughout here, the splashback and the countertop, it's all Carrara marble. I made sure that I didn't have open shelving because I wanted to keep out the dust. It's as simple as that. Not every decision is always a design related decision. Like I said before, it's first about practicality and then you make it look beautiful. So we are very happy with the outcome. This is an American company that you've probably seen a lot before, and I love the red knobs on them. I think they're really fun and they add a touch to the house, aside from being very, very useful and great. Here I've also created this scallop trim to add some detail, to make it fun and feminine, and we love it. It's such a simple little touch, but we feel it adds so much character. I have this cuckoo clock that I bought at Muji, which reminds me again of my traditional German side, and I love it. It starts to make a noise every hour and every half an hour, so you're sure to know what time it is when you're in my kitchen, that's for sure. In general, throughout my life, I very much have the mentality that you need to mix different things from different price points, and I don't believe that in order for it to be beautiful, it has to be expensive. So I'd love to show you an IKEA glass that I have, which is with flamingos, and I love it. It's from IKEA and it's wonderful and people love it and they're very useful. And I have this other glassware which a friend of mine produces, and they're not very expensive. They're very well priced, and I think they're beautiful. Swirls, and they come in lots of different colors, so I use them in all sorts of colors, and it's all about mixing them at the table. You don't want them all to be the same, and they are hand blown, as you can tell. They differ a little bit, tiny bit in size, and I love that. I find that very charming. And the name of the company of the glassware is Bias Edition. Another thing that I would love to show you, which is a bit of a secret, is my larder. So this is one of my favorite parts of my kitchen because, as you know, when you cook, you need space to store things. This is my larder, and I also put in some drawers where we keep more of the children wear and some of my teas and things like that. And one of the fun things that we created was to put numbers on them, because I wanted to be able to tell my kids, if you need that glass, go grab it in drawer number 3. So that was the idea. So this is my dining room. It's part of my kitchen. There is no division whatsoever. And I wanted it that way because I wanted it to feel informal and very family space. So this table is a vintage table that I have bought, and I had it lacquered by my joiner. It's something that I do a lot. I love reusing vintage furniture and giving it new life. And you can make it look and feel completely different, but you're using something that has already been made, that is out there. You know, we need to think about our planet. So this is a vintage Swedish dining table. And you know what, to be honest, these things that were made 50 years ago or maybe older, they were made much better than most things are being made nowadays. So they will last you a lifetime if you look after them. And they're very cleverly done. As you can tell, I have a cat. And my cat inhabits this space a lot. And when he was younger, nowadays not so much, he really messed up my furniture. So I decided to just let it happen to these chairs. He hasn't done it anywhere else, luckily. Fingers crossed. And you know, it gives me the opportunity to play with them again. Very soon they're gonna have to be reupholstered. My husband's not gonna be happy about it, but I certainly am. My journey into interior design has been what would I describe it? It's sort of taken a little bit longer for me to get here. I guess some people, they know from beginning after they study what they want to do in their lives. I didn't really, and I studied international relations at first, and then I worked at Sotheby's at the photography department, and it really helped me understand that I am a very visual person. Later on, I worked in fashion as well for a while, about 3 years, and again, I love expressing myself with my clothes. But I also decided that I didn't want to be part of the fashion industry as such. So I left, and whilst I got married and had my first son, I did up my house and I hired an interior designer because I do very much believe that it is good to have help, it is good to have guideline, and it is good to understand that it is a lot of work to get to the finished product. So essentially, I did up my house, and then I realized I love it. I love doing up houses, and I have a very deep understanding of how a house should be used. I have a very open, very close relationship with my clients, in the sense that I need to understand what they need in their lives, what they want from this house, how much do they want to entertain, how much do they need their privacy, how much would they like to spend time together as a family, and in which spaces to sort of have a space to yourself. And so I then did a course at Inchbald at the age, I think I was 28 at the time. And Inchbald is the oldest school of design in London. And I loved it. And after I finished my course, I actually got pregnant with my daughter. So I decided I wasn't willing to sort of go and start as an intern somewhere, and I needed to just do it by myself. I needed to bite the bullet and start my own business in order to be the boss of my own time. And I think a lot of women get into interior design because it gives you the flexibility that we need as homemakers, wives, women, navigating a very busy life. And so I first had a business partner, and we traded under a different name, and then she moved back to Brazil. But I feel like you gain a lot of experience on the job, and that's the best way to learn, because everyone has their own taste, everyone has their way of putting things together, and really doing a course is not going to change that. It's more about learning about the basics, but then it's about learning on the go. And so it's been over 10 years that I have been doing this work now. It changed in many different ways in terms of working with different people, working under different names. And now since 2020, so it's been 4 years, I've been trading under Nina Litchfield Studios. And I have very big dreams for this company, for it to grow into many different aspects of the visual things that I love. And I'm very excited that things are going in the right direction after a lot of hard work. This is my kids' playroom. It comes off directly from my kitchen and dining area. It's the space that they love being with their friends. It's the only space that has a TV in the home. I'm quite strict about it. So this is where we watch TV, cozy up in the evening as a family. The sofa is big enough to fit all of us. And yes, it has all the toys. The kids can be here when they have a play date, when they bring their friends over. Again, it's a very informal space that is fun, that is like, I do not worry about anything in here. If it needs to be reupholstered in 10 years' time, so it will. But up until then, it's all about just being messy, having fun, and enjoying yourselves. And I love this space because it feels very homely, it's very cozy, and I continued the theme of blue. So as you can tell, the kitchen is a lighter blue, this is a darker blue. They're both from the same company, which is called Edward Boma. They do natural paints, and I love the colors that they give us. And so I decided to embrace the darkness down here, and because it's the TV room, I wanted it to be a little bit darker, a little bit cozier. I have more to show you upstairs. Follow me. This is my office in the landing. So one of the things that these English houses have is these little quirky corners and landings. And this used to be a kind of like an unused space. And I always felt like it has so much potential. And these houses, we need to make use of every inch that we can. So I put in the crystal door again. I have, I think, the best room in the house. I love it. It's small, it's cozy, has an incredible view into the garden, amazing light. And I love working from here in the evenings and having phone calls, whatever it is that I need to do. I really believe it is very important to merge practicality, comfort, and beauty within the design. I also believe that it's really important that my clients are represented in their home, so that I don't want people to walk in and feel like, oh, Nina helped you, I can tell. But apparently I do have a style, which I didn't think I did, which is recognizable. But essentially, it's about creating joy, and it's about having happy clients at the end of it all, that are comfortable in their home, that want to entertain, that are proud of what they've created with me, and that it makes sense, that it's really functional, and it gives them all the spaces that they need in their home. So this is the master bedroom, or nowadays, as we're supposed to say, principal bedroom. I love it. It feels very serene to me. It has a lot of things that have emotional value to us. Above the bed, we have the paintings of our children, and I love this English painter. She's called Emma Woolard, and she painted them at different stages. I feel like they are always here, they're present, and it captured such an innocent and beautiful time in their lives. So that was wonderful to have that done. Our bed is an old French bed that we bought many, many years ago when we first got married, so 16 years ago now. And again, it's something that I love. It brings a lot of character, and I love cane, so that's another obsession of mine. So I'm very happy with this bed. Also, throughout this floor, the theme is kind of navy blue. So this is a color by Farron Ball called Hague Blue. It's a color that I use a lot because it's quite dark, it's quite deep. It changes with depending on how the light falls on it. This is an old Chester drawer that we bought when we first got married. It moved around, and we have a lot of memorabilia and art and photography of the family and of my husband's family, of my family, and yeah, we really enjoy being in this room. These lamps I bought a very long time ago, again, when we first got married, I think with my friends who are interior designers who helped me do my house. And I love them because they have this flower detail in them here. And I put new lampshades on them. Previously, when we bought them, they had paper lampshades and they were black. So it was quite moody, quite lovely. But then I wanted actually to put fabric on them, and I love a bit of ECAT, and so I bought these in a London shop and changed it, and I love them. I think they're really beautiful. Another thing that I told you earlier is that I love secret doors. In England, the technical term for them is jib door. So we have another jib door here. I created my closet behind that jib door. I'm not going to show you everything, but you get a sneak peek. So normally I don't do this, but I will make an exception and show you a very intimate space in my home that I created because I have a lot of clothes and shoes. My father-in-law calls me Imelda Marco. So welcome to my closet, but don't tell anyone. This is a space that didn't exist. It was all one big room. I created this division in order to be able to store my guilty pleasure, which is clothing, shoes, and bags. And once again, we had to take advantage of the full height of the room, and I created another staircase so that you can actually access everything and change winter and summer clothing when needed. And yes, I love my little secret room. One of the new shoes that I bought this season is a Ulla Johnson shoe, and I haven't worn them yet, and I can't wait to wear them throughout this whole fall season with a little kitten heel. I think they are perfect, and they're gonna work with tights, without tights, with jeans, with skirts, anything you want to do, and I think I'm gonna live in these. Okay, we have to get out of my closet because my husband does not know that I have all these things. So let's go into my daughter's room, make sure this door is shut, and let's go. So here's the top floor. It's where my children live. And this is my favorite room in the house. It's my daughter's bedroom. She is the only girl, so she had the privilege to have the brightest and possibly slightly bigger room than her older brother. So I love it. I made it very pink. She now wants to change it all because it's been 6 years that she's had it like that. And she said to me, "Mommy, I don't want my room to be pink anymore. Please, can we redo it?" So at some point I will have to grant her wish, but for now it's still pink. So once again, practicality was really important. So I made sure that we had plenty of storage, took advantage of the ceiling height within the house. I opened up the ceilings. I also put in a ventilator, which possibly in London you'd think, why would you do that? But I have to be honest with you, this being the top floor and underneath the roof, it does get very hot here in the summer. And at that point, we weren't able to install AC. So we put in the ventilators, which I think are extremely charming. And to be honest, they do the job for London. Another thing that I love about this room is this rug that I brought in my luggage from my visit to India. As we were finishing the house, I went to visit India, and I fell in love with that country and the things they produce and the amazing craftsmanship. So I brought a few things, and this rug is one of them. And till today, I absolutely love it. I also managed to find a vintage desk that people were sort of throwing out, and I thought, this is wonderful. She definitely needs it. So we need to make sure that in order to bring in a little bit of character into a home, I think bringing in some vintage, some old pieces are really the way to go, because they always add character, they always add a bit of fun and color and something unexpected to a room. I also created this board, with this cork board, for her to be able to pinpoint photos of achievements or drawings. My daughter is actually very good at drawing, and so we always encouraged her to put it up for her to look at, for her to be proud of the things that she's made. And I've made the border out of the same fabric that the curtains are made out of. So to continue the theme and to create a continuity in the room, I think it's great to reuse fabrics in different ways and for different objects in the room. Another thing that I want to mention to you is, again, this game in a home of high and low, which is really important. So doorknobs, for example, can be quite expensive and they can be quite hard to find, and sometimes you want something that is a little bit different. So these ones are from Zara Home. I love Zara Home. They have great things, and one of them is these very affordable, very cute little star doorknobs. And continuing, I could say, continuing on the theme of the fabric, I had these vintage chairs reupholstered for her. Previously, they were in my office and they were a completely different color. And I reused the fabric that we used on the curtains, that we used on the board. I used them on those chairs as well. And I think it works really well to have them in different places within the room. The word home to me is, I think, a really important one. I think it's possibly one of the reasons I love doing my work, is to help people create their dream home. The word home is, it's a space that you walk in, that embraces you, that makes you feel held, and it makes you feel like you've got home, you know, like it's comfort, family, all the things that maybe you enjoyed about your childhood that you want to recreate for your family or for yourself as a grown-up. The word home is major. It's really important, which is why I value my work so much, and hopefully help people to create the home that they always wished for themselves. Homeworthy, it's been so much fun to have you here today. I loved showing you my house. It was wonderful, but I must get back to work now and you have to leave. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.